everyone, my name is Mrs. Shellberg and I am here to go through the Junior Achievement Our City program. We're going to do the session Invisible Money, and I'm really excited to be with you today. This program's a lot of fun and we're going to learn about money. So before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I am the education specialist at a credit union, PFCU. And for those of you that might not know what a credit union is a lot like a bank. So it's a place where people can keep their money safe in their very own savings account or checking account. And people can also borrow money from a credit union. So a lot of you may have parents that have borrowed money from a bank or a credit union to buy a house or a car or a boat. So we do a lot of things at the credit union. My job specifically, I work with students just like you. I work with Junior Achievement a lot, and I also work with a bunch of other youth and student-based programs that are a lot of fun. So let's get started with this session. Okay, so you have a couple junior journal pages that will be used throughout the session, and I will let you know when you do need to use those. And of course, if you'd rather just follow along with me as we go through these activities, and fill these out at the end, or if you want to do them as we go along, that's great. You can either download these pages and fill them out on your computer, or you can print them and fill them out with a pen or a pencil, whatever you want to do. And of course, I will be asking questions throughout the session. So anytime you want to pause this recording and talk about the questions I'm asking, or give your answer, or think about it, you can pause this at any time to do that. I will pause for a moment to let you answer the question, but if you need more time, you can always pause the recording. Okay. So from session 1, let's do a quick review. You can see our friends here on the screen. I want to ask as a review, what are the 4 choices that we have with money? So you can see them actually here. There are 4 choices. Are earn, save, spend, and donate. These are the 4 things that you can do with money. And we are going to talk about all different kinds of money today. So what do you see on the screen here? That's right, it's money. So you probably know that this is cash. So we have paper money or bills, and then we have coins. So do you know any other ways that we are able to pay for things? Can you think of any other way other than cash that you see on the screen that we are able to pay for things? All right, so a few ways to pay for things that we are going to talk about today are debit cards, credit cards, checks, and electronic payments. So we will go through what each of those are here in a few minutes. And I want to tell you what I usually use to pay. So for example, I went out to eat just a few days ago and I used my debit card. So a debit card is a plastic card. You've probably seen someone use a debit card before. It's a plastic card that takes money right out of your account. So it's just like using cash. It's just in the form of a card. And I use my debit card for pretty much everything I buy. Anytime I can, I'm using my debit card. It's just easy and convenient for me to use. So that's what I use to pay for most things. So let's watch a quick video. This is going to cover different ways to pay with our cha-ching friends.
Hey, Prudence, would you mind checking the fuse box? It's out the back.
Okay.
Band huddle. It's Prudence's birthday soon, and we're gonna throw her a surprise party.
Cha-ching has money saved from the last gig.
Party time!
Before the party starts, we need to buy a few things. We have $200 in the bank account of cha-ching.
Buy party supplies to throw this excellent bash. Gotta go electronic and it's done in a flash. Easy to lose track of cash we splashed. Don't forget there's a bill that to make the party feel wow. Tunes, food, find out now. Invitations gone out by phone and by text. For less than $200, the party is next.
Oh, what a night, we had an excellent time. $200, but oh, that was fine.
We partied so hard with all the whistles and frills. Then along with the memories arrived the bill. What?
We owe how much?
$150 more? How did this happen? But we have $15 cash left over. We totally stuck to the budget of $200.
Did you really? I don't think so. How did you pay for the DJ?
Credit card?
There's invisible charges there, Pepper. The invitations?
Our phones.
There's invisible charges there too. You spent almost $200 cash plus $150. Right, everyone. Hand them over. No more spending invisible money until we've paid what we owe.
But how are we going to pay what we owe?
Okay, we don't have enough money in the bank, so the bank will pay our bills for now. But every month they will charge us interest for lending us what we don't have. So we'll have to work to pay it off as quickly as possible.
Invisible, invisible money made the bill go higher, higher, higher. Invisible money added interest, adds more money.
We did it, Cha-Ching! We've paid off our debt!
Party time!
Oh, Pepper.
All right, so that's the end of the video. Let me ask you a couple questions. Why do you think that video is called Invisible Money? So again, you can pause this recording if you want to talk about that. So maybe because they use invisible money. So things like credit cards and electronic payments are money that we can't necessarily see when we use it. So they paid for the party, a lot of the party, with invisible money that they had to pay back. So anything that's not actually paper money, cash that we have in our hand, can be considered invisible money. And what is good about using invisible money? So a couple things that I think of that's good about using invisible money is that it's easier to carry around. So instead of having to carry all of your cash, you can just have your debit card. So you have all of your cash available from your account on your debit card. And you can buy stuff. If you don't have cash on you, you can still buy things with a debit or a credit card. So how do you think spending invisible money can get you into trouble? So we talk about the good things about it. What are maybe some not so good things? So one big one is when using a credit card, you're actually borrowing that money. So when you borrow the money off a credit card, you have to pay that back. And it can be really easy for people to spend more money than they have with a credit card because the credit card doesn't take it out of their bank account right away. You're borrowing it and then you pay it back later. So it's really easy to spend a lot of money on a credit card that maybe you don't have. And then with a debit card, it can be harder to keep track of how much money you're spending. So even though it's coming right out of your bank account, it's really easy to be swiping that debit card because you're not actually seeing the money come out of your bank account. So some people can still pay for things that maybe they can't afford, and maybe they're using or spending more money than they have out of their account than they realize because they don't have that cash in their hand. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about goods and services. So we spend money on goods and services. So goods are items that are bought and sold, and these are things that we can touch and can be handled. So when we buy goods, they're items that we typically take with us. So from the video for Prudence's party, they spent a lot on goods. So they had to buy a cake and party hats and decorations. These are all things that are touched and handled. They can be needs or wants. Those are all goods. Services are jobs that are done for others, such as haircuts or car repairs. So people in cities use the money they earn to spend on goods and services. So let's look at some other examples of goods and services. Here are some pictures. Let's see if you can figure out which picture is a good and which pictures are services. So I see a picture of food. And remember, we buy food, we can touch food. When we buy it, we take it with us. So that's an example of a good. Right below that, I see a police car and a fire truck. So they provide a service. I see a picture of phones. We buy our phones. Phones are things that we can touch and take with us. So that is a good. Now, if we talk about a phone plan, that could be considered a service. Right below that, I see a construction worker. So when construction workers are out fixing the roads, that's a service. Right next to that, there is a dentist cleaning teeth. That is considered a service, getting your teeth cleaned. And then the last picture is a gas station. So gas stations provide a good. So you buy your gas for your car. And of course, there's always, well, not always, there's sometimes stores at gas stations where you can go in and buy goods as well. So you can go in and buy food and things like that at a gas station. So can you think of any other examples of goods and services that either you buy or your family buys, or just in general that anyone can buy? I'm sure you guys can think of all sorts of goods and services that people buy. There's so many out there that we could list off. A few that I use, services that I use, getting your haircut. I get my haircut. Go to the dentist. When we go to the doctor, those are all services. Getting the lawn mowed by a company is a service. When I go out and buy my groceries, that's a good. Groceries are good. Other goods could be my laptop that I'm using right now is a good. The clothes that I'm wearing are a good. So we could go on and on about all the goods and services that we buy. Okay, so let's, we're gonna go over some vocabulary words. But I want you to keep in mind that a long time ago, people traded for goods and services. So they didn't buy them with money like we do now. So for example, if someone needed spices for cooking, they might trade someone who needed vegetables. So if I needed spices and you needed vegetables, I could give you some vegetables and then you could give me some spices in return. We both get something that we want or need, and we are able to trade for that. So now we use money. Money makes everything easier, makes buying things easier, because we are all using the same object to buy things, and that's money. So you're basically trading your money for the things that you need and want. So people can pay for goods and services using either invisible or visible money. So for example, cash is considered visible. Why do you think cash is considered visible money? Because you can hold it in your hand, right? You can see it, you can count it, it's there. When you spend it, you give it over to the cashier, they give you change back, you can see the money and touch the money. So that makes it visible. So let's go through all of these definitions. So cash is money in the form of bills or coins. A debit card is a card that subtracts the cost of what you buy from the money you have in your checking account. So a debit card is a lot like using cash. It comes right out of your account. A credit card is a card that allows a person to pay later by borrowing the money, which is called taking a loan. An electronic payment is a way to pay for things using a phone, a tablet, or the internet. So for example, I pay a lot of bills online. So you can pay for different things online using electronic payments. And then a check is a written order to a bank to pay money to a person or business. All right, so we are going to do an activity, and you can use you have a junior journal page that coincides with this. It's called Many Ways to Pay. So you can use that to go along with this activity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a payment method, and I want you to decide if it's invisible or visible and how it works. So what I mean when I say how it works is if you buy now, pay now with that form of payment, or if you buy now and pay later with that form of payment. So let's do the first one. Our first form of payment we're going to look at is cash. So is this visible or invisible? And is it buy now, pay now, or buy now, pay later? Let's take a look. So your money, buy now, pay now, is where cash falls, and it is visible. Remember we talked about that. You can touch it and count it. That makes it visible. Our next form of payment is a debit card. Visible or invisible? And is it buy now, pay now, or buy now, pay later? So this is buy now, pay now. So remember I said it's a lot like using cash. When you buy something with a debit card, you're paying for it at that time because it's coming right out of your account. And this is invisible. Next, we have a credit card. Invisible or visible? And is this buy now, pay now, or buy now, pay later? Let's take a look. This one is buy now, pay later. So this is when you borrow money. So when you use a credit card, it's not coming out of your account when you use the credit card. You do have to pay it back later. And this is, once again, an invisible form of payment. Next, we have an electronic payment. Visible or invisible? Buy now, pay now, or buy now, pay later? Take a second to think about that. This is buy now, pay now. So electronic payments come right out of your account, just like a debit card does. And this is invisible again. And our last method is a check. Visible or invisible? Buy now, pay later, buy now, pay now. Let's take a look. So this one is buy now, pay now, and it is invisible. All right, great. That's the end of the activity. I hope that clears up a little bit the difference between invisible and visible money and whether we buy now, pay now, or buy now, pay later. So let me ask you this. We've talked about credit cards. So if a credit card, when you use that, it's not coming out of your bank account, does that make it free money when you use a credit card? So no, a credit card is not free money. You have to pay that money back. So if you don't have enough money in your account, you can borrow money using a credit card. You just have to make sure that you know that you have to pay it back later, plus money that the bank charges you for borrowing that money, which is called interest. So you may be paying back more money than you spent on something because of interest. Okay, so we're going to do a really quick activity, another activity. So we have 5 scenarios on the screen, and we need to decide the best payment method to use for each scenario, and whether that's visible or invisible, and then why the payment method we decided is the best payment method. Okay, so remember, our choices of payment method include cash, debit card, credit card, electronic payment, and check. So let's look at the first scenario. Harry's grandmother wants to mail him money for his birthday and a birthday card. So what payment method do you think would be best for mailing someone money for their birthday in a birthday card? Let's find out. A check. And a check is visible or invisible? Invisible. And why should Harry's grandmother use a check to send in a birthday card and not something like cash? So it's actually not a good idea to send cash in the mail. And you can take a check to a bank and either deposit it or get cash from the bank. It's safer to send a check in the mail, and then you can still cash that check. So when he gets the check in the mail, he can take it to the bank and cash it and get money from that. All right. Let's go back. Here we go. Next scenario. Chen buys a hot dog and a lemonade at the ballpark. What form of payment do you think is best to use at the ballpark? Let's find out. Cash. And cash is visible or invisible? Visible. So why is it best to use cash at the ballpark? So I would say that it's best to use cash at the ballpark because even though some vendors may take debit and credit cards, cash is good for inexpensive purchases, and not all vendors at places like ballparks do take a card, a credit card or a debit card. So it's best to use cash for those small purchases at places like that. All right, next scenario. Tony wants to buy a TV for the Sunday football game, but doesn't have enough money right now. So the key to this one is that he doesn't have enough money right now. So what can we use that is buy now, pay later? A credit card. Remember, credit cards are borrowing money, so you can buy now, pay later. So this would be good for him to use. He just wants to make sure that when he has to pay that back later, that he has enough money to pay it back. And this is an invisible form of money. All right, next we have Camilla buys her groceries for the week. She doesn't like to carry that much cash in her wallet. So what should she use if she doesn't like to carry much cash for groceries? Her debit card. So if she doesn't like to carry a lot of cash around, but she still has money in the bank to pay for her groceries, she could use her debit card. And is this visible or invisible? Invisible. So we can't see the money leaving her account. So it's invisible. And she doesn't have to carry cash with her. Good. All right, the last scenario. Sarah needs to pay her friend quickly in another state for a concert ticket. What do we want to use for that? So it's someone that's not close to her and she wants to pay them quickly. All right, let's see. Electronic payment. So this is a quick, easy way for her to pay her friend who is not close by. She's in another state. So you may have heard of different ways to do this. There's PayPal, there's Venmo. A lot of credit unions and banks provide electronic payments that you can pay people money right on your phone. And is this visible or invisible? Invisible again, yes. Very good. All right, so we've gone through all the scenarios. And guess what? I have one more activity for you guys with a junior journal page attached to it. So you can use that junior journal page to fill out your answers if you would like. And again, you can pause this recording to do this activity. It may take some thinking on your end to come up with your answers. So first of all, I want you to figure out something that you want to buy. So write down something that you would like to buy, anything you want to buy. And then when you decide what you want to buy, I want you to decide how you are going to pay for it. So if you were to buy this thing right now, what type of money would you use? Would you use a check, an electronic payment, a debit card, a credit card, or cash? What would you use and why would you use it? So if you chose cash to pay for what you want to buy, you need to tell me why you would pay with cash. So remember, I said I use my debit card a lot. And I use it because it's easy, it's convenient, and I don't have to carry cash with me. But I also don't have to worry about paying it back later like you would a credit card because it's coming right out of my bank account. All right, once you answer those questions, you need to figure out if it's visible or invisible, which I'm sure you've got that down by now, whether these payments are visible or invisible. All right, you guys, that's the end of the session. Thank you so much for joining me. I had a lot of fun making this recording, and I hope that you had fun going through it and you learned something too. Bye.